Whenever you're ready, okay?
Hey, welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for coming on and being a guest today. I really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Very, very happy to do it.
Thank you. So, I guess the first question I want to start out with is what inspired you about him? Like when did you like first start like liking him and following him?
I think, anybody who loves movies probably had some moment where they fell in love with Hitchcock films, don't you think? I'm sure you did, Rocco,
Oh,
as well.
definitely.
For me, it was really young, like the age of 8 or 8.5, when you don't fully understand cinema, but your whole body reacts, the fear, the excitement, the adrenaline of a Hitchcock movie. And it was Psycho for me, that was the one
Oh
that
yeah,
got
definitely.
me so excited in Hitchcock. And then years later, flash forward years later, and I became friends with Janet Leigh, and I was watching the shower scene in Psycho in slow motion in Los Angeles with Janet Leigh. So how exciting that is. So, there's something sort of primal about Hitchcock. He's sort of the beginning of cinema in a way, and that's why he excited me so much.
Oh wow, okay. Well, yeah, he's amazing. Like, cause my mom was a big fan of his too, and then she turned me onto his films, and The Birds was actually like the first one I watched,
Good start.
and that was so amazing, just how well it was made, and I mean, there's something about his films, like it definitely brings you to like another place.
Mhm. Yeah, he wasn't trying to use the conventional ways of scaring us. He was
Yeah,
using
definitely.
things. Using things like silence. So if you think of Psycho, like it's when Janet Leigh's character is killed, it's quite early on, as we know, and then the film becomes less violent. Like the
Mhm.
standard shape of a horror movie is we start normal and they go to, you go to some place and they have fun, and then the fear builds and builds. And Hitchcock sort of does something the opposite in Psycho, as we know, and you think in The Birds, when we see some of the awful things that happened, there's silence, there's no big music, there's no big
I
heavies,
know.
So always challenging what it is to scare somebody in the movies.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, just knowing that birds are attacking you, trying to kill you, that's scary enough.
Mm.
But,
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And a lot of Hitchcock films, you could say are just about everyday violence, like
Mhm.
a lot of the fear in his movies are people, from people who just want to, know, kill people for sort of slightly ordinary social reasons. But a film like The Birds obviously is, why are the birds doing this? This is
Yeah,
something
exactly.
more disturbing, more existential, I would say.
Yeah. And what was like the first film of his that you ever watched? Like,
It was Psycho. I'm from
that was
Belfast, Northern Ireland. I was at home, and we came from a very Christian Catholic background, and
oh,
so
okay.
anything about a bit disturbing was like, oh, it's scary. I remember watching The Exorcist at the same time, and then when I saw The Exorcist first, and of course it freaked me out totally. And
That was
then I
crazy.
remember my aunt said, "Okay, there's this film Psycho." I thought, well, okay, bring it on, bring it on. And then you see it, and as a filmmaker, I even though I was a boy when I saw it,
Yeah.
I knew there was something different from all the other horror movies I'd seen. All the other horror movies I'd seen, their principal reason for existence was to scare me.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Psycho was not, obviously it's super scary, but
Mhm.
its principal reason, it was about more things. It was about being alone. being, you know, in love with somebody, and you get in a car and you drive through the rain and you stay in a motel, and you know, you think, "Ah, at last, you know, I'm so it's about other things like solitude, and that's what excited me about Psycho. I could, even then as a boy, I could see that it was scary, but
Yeah.
it wasn't the only thing it was trying to do. It was trying to
Oh,
do other things as well. Yeah.
and like the shower scene where she gets killed in the shower, like that is to this day. Like it's on everyone's list. Like if you're a horror fan or a thriller fan, that shower scene, like it's amazing, like for any horror thriller fan. And it's still used too, like when you see different films, like there's a lot of people now that get killed in showers, and that was like the first to ever start that like shower trend.
Yeah, and it's, you know, you can understand why it works, can't you, Rocco? You know, because it's,
Oh
you're
yeah.
vulnerable, you're naked. The shower see when you're having a shower, you often have your best thoughts in your shower in the shower, don't you? You know, you're really on
You're
your
right.
own. You
You're
know,
right.
you're not looking at the door. You probably haven't locked the door, which you should do. And Janet Lee, who I knew well, told me that, you know, she said this many times, I think, but she felt for a long time she couldn't have a shower afterwards. So
Oh
it's about exposure, exposing yourself. You know, I'm here, I'm alone, I'm in my own body, nothing bad will happen, and then the worst thing happens. And of course, Hitchcock does it brilliantly, you know, because just the sound of the music, sound of the water, and then through the shower we see this figure, and then you know, it's
yeah,
all
yeah,
so
yeah, with
iconic
that
now. You know,
music, yeah.
it's hard to imagine cinema before that, you know. But
Hmm.
as we know, this film was wildly successful, and people queued around the block. And so, how great that, you know, when you're a filmmaker, you're always trying to change cinema, and Hitchcock changed cinema with that scene.
Oh, you definitely did. And like, what was the process like making the film, like going back and watching all of his films, and like how was how was it like making the film, the process of it, and going back and watching all the videos and stuff?
It was great. You know, I watched them all in order. There are 53 films, and I watched them from the
Oh,
very beginning to the very end, you
oh
know,
my
and
God.
I thought I'd seen them all, but actually it turned out that there were some of the silent movies I hadn't seen, you know, and so that was good. I actually did this during COVID, during the pandemic, and so, you know, I was living this room that I'm talking to you in now was my world, you know. You remember how confined we were all
Oh
during
yeah.
did, you know, and you became interested in like solitude and fulfillment. Like, how do I get through the next month? Like, is it food? Is it Netflix? Is it whatever? Is it pizza? Well, how am I going to get through this? And so I was looking at the Hitchcock films. I was watching the Hitchcock films through that lens in a way, you know, and
Okay,
that's
okay.
why in this film that I talk a bit about fulfillment. You know, what makes you happy? Because
Mhm.
in COVID, we were all asking ourselves that question.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah, like that is a great time to make a film though, because like you're basically sitting around thinking about what you're gonna do next. Like
Yeah,
every day felt the same.
yeah, I think that's right. You know, and I think Hitchcock would have been interested in that. It would be lovely to see a Hitchcock film about COVID, wouldn't it? You
Oh
know,
my
because
God, yes.
he would have been, of course, very interested in the sort of tensions in within families. You know, and the desire occasionally to kill the person you're living with. You're so sick of them. Obviously, in a joking way. Yeah, so I think he would have been very, you know, yeah, let's imagine the Hitchcock film about COVID. We
Yeah,
want to see that.
that would be good. And why do you think, like, what made him and his films stand out from everybody else?
No, it's a good question. I mean, some of the things that he did were like obvious, like Hollywood has always done. Glamour, sex,
Mhm.
desire, fear, all those kind of big things, you know. But I think that the reason why he stands out in a way is a number of things. He added humor into the mix. So just when you're, you know, you think that you're in a tragedy or a melodrama, then something funny happens, you know, so that's good. I think that a lot of filmmakers, including the best filmmakers like Billy Wilder and William Wyler, etc., who made some of the best films, best American films ever made, they were basically script-based people. It
Mhm.
was about dialogue, character, and story. But if you think of a film like Vertigo, for example, or quite a few of the Hitchcock pictures, the dialogue isn't crucial. It's
Yeah,
just it's not like theater, it's not like literature. It's more earthy than that. It's more visual than that. And I think that's why he ranks with the greatest of the filmmakers, because he isn't making films about people talking to each other.
yeah, that's true. And they made a video game too, right? Didn't they make Vert Vertigo like a video game out of that too? I'm pretty sure they did. I think so.
Maybe I don't know.
And did you sorry. Would I read something online about him. Like I don't know if it's true or if you know it or not. They said every time he used to drink tea, and when he would be done with the tea, he would get the cup and just throw it over his shoulder and like break the glass. It was like something he liked doing. Like I read that online. Like I was like I have to ask you this. Like if if you know if this is true or if it's something someone just lied about on the internet. You never know.
I have never heard that, Rocco, and I suspect it's not true. You know, people want to make like exciting stories about people, and so
Mhm.
it might be true, but I've never. I was good friends with Sean Connery, who knew him well, Ingrid Bergman, who no, and it wasn't Janet Leigh, and I knew Teresa Wright a bit. None of them told me that story. It might be true,
Okay.
but we need to be slightly skeptical about these rumors, obviously.
True, you're right. And what did you love most about making the film?
Yeah, that's a good question. What I love most is about just being in the creative world, you know, like
Mhm.
during COVID, you know, there was a lot of, we were going through lots of things, and each day I would sit here at this computer in which I'm talking to you now and just, um, you know, dive into the Hitchcock world. And it's a really interesting world, you know, it's a very visual
Oh,
world. It's a very, you know, sort of daring, transgressive world, you know, and so that was a lovely thing to do.
and was there anything you learned about him that you might have not ever known, like going back and looking at everything?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that I'd seen everything. I'd seen almost all the films before, but I didn't quite know how good Rope is. I think Rope is a super good film. You know, I think it's very interesting over all sorts of themes. You know, we can now say it's a queer film in some ways. You know, but it's politically very interesting. So I learned about that. I the minor films, even the small films of Hitchcock are really good. You know, so I discovered that, I think, and I cried again at the only film of Hitchcock that I cry at is Notorious, Ingrid Bergman at the end of that film. So I discovered, I think, that we always think of Hitchcock as a kind of provocateur or somebody who's manipulating us. but I think I saw a lot more human qualities in Hitchcock.
Oh, okay. And this is a question like off base a little bit. I mean, we are in Halloween season, and
Oh, yes.
I wanted to know if there's any Halloween themed horror films that you like to watch for the season.
I love horror films. I think the best horror film that I've seen recently is The Babadook. Yeah,
Yes.
the
Yes.
great film directed by Jennifer Kent from New Zealand. I absolutely love The Babadook. I love, there's a French film called Eyes Without a Face, directed by Georges Franju, which I love, uh, and The Exorcist.
Oh my God. Hands down, yes. And I know we're coming up on our time, so the last thing I'll ask you is where can fans watch and follow the film and also follow you at?
So I don't know where, hopefully the film's playing in quite a lot of places in the US. I don't have that information. I should, Rocco. In terms of me, I'm on the only platform I'm on is on Twitter X, and Mark at Mark Cousins Film, where I talk about silly things, but I talk about cinema a lot and my passion for cinema, and I often express my love for movies at that space.
Awesome, buddy. Well, thank you so much for taking time and coming on and doing this. I appreciate it.
Nice to talk to you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.